Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about friendship. I'm currently reading this book, and the book's filled with all these different stories of her friendships with other women throughout her life. And it's really just been stirring in my heart to connect with other women. Growing up, I really connected well with men, with other guys and boys, and I remember I would have like one good girlfriend, and then we would hang out with groups of guys. We'd hang out with the skater boys, or we'd hang out guys on the soccer field. Even in elementary school, really kind of hitting it off well with other boys and having fun, messing around and being silly with them. And sometimes I found it really hard to relate to the other girls. I found them kind of cliquey or not included by them. I remember feeling left out, and I think because of those feelings early on in life that it was a lot easier to have one good girlfriend and then just hang out with guys. Because I remember thinking guys are easier to connect with. Like, you can just go climb trees or play sports or play games with them, and they're cool. They don't gossip about you or talk bad about you. Or I think because I was cute and they thought I was cute, I ended up, without realizing it, allowing a lot of guys to meet my needs for friendship, for significance, for attention, without giving them any commitment. So I had lots of guy friends, and I knew lots of guys who had crushes on me, and I kind of played into that by getting the attention and having fun and, you know, hanging out with them, playing basketball, all these fun things without having to be their girlfriend. It wasn't until I was older that I realized what I was doing and how I was kind of allowing guys to meet my needs. When I was in college, one of my roommates confronted me, and she said, you know, you're hanging out with this guy all the time, and you're really excited to talk to him, and you miss him, and you say you don't have any feelings for him, but he knows you better than any of us. And all of us as your roommates, we want to get to know you and we want to hang out with you, but it seems like you kind of push us away and then run to him. And I didn't have any romantic feelings for this guy. He really was just one of my good friends, but it caused me to question, like, okay, why am I opening up my heart to guys but closing my heart off to women? And as I began to kind of search in my own heart, I realized how hurt I'd been by girls. When I was in 10th grade, I had these girlfriends, and I felt like a part of their group. I'd known them for a few years, and one day I walked over to the lunch table and they all ignored me. And I didn't know why they stopped talking to me. I didn't know. I remember feeling so confused and just blindsided. I had no idea why some of my best girlfriends who I'd confided in and, you know, hung out with and known for a couple years, all of a sudden just stonewalled me and stopped talking. Well, I found out through some other people at the lunch table that they thought I was flirting with their boyfriend. So instead of coming to me and telling me, like, hey, this hurt my feelings, or let's talk through this, I still want to be friends, any of that, they just gossiped about me and cut me out of their friendship circle. So, I mean, that was one of the things that happened, but I just remember, you know, a couple different things happening like that, and just feeling so hurt by women in my life and so disappointed in some of my female friendships that time and time again, it seemed like it was safer to have a boyfriend or safer to hang out with a group of guys than it was to really trust women. I made some inner vows in my heart, like, you know, girls are harder to be friends with. I remember saying that a lot. Like, it's harder to be friends with girls than it is with guys. Girls are a lot more high maintenance. They're gossipy, they're chatty, they're cliquey, they're all these things, and with guys it's just easy. And because I made that an agreement in my heart, I was really living out of that without even realizing it. It was very kind of subconscious. So I hung out, I just felt safer with guys. I hung out with them, I'd do evangelism things with them, I'd go to preaching groups, and I always found that I hit it off with the men. And so this friend coming to me, it opened up my eyes to something that I didn't realize I had made an agreement with. And so I asked the Lord to kind of come and heal that place in my heart where I had been hurt by women. And I remember just sitting on my bed and asking the Holy Spirit to show me the women who'd hurt me, to bring their faces to mine and to choose to forgive them. And it was really healing, just kind of having that time with the Lord where I didn't even realize how hurt I'd been by other women. And I know this is probably every woman's story. Like, we get hurt by our moms, we get hurt by our sisters, we get hurt by our high school friends, we get hurt even as little girls, like we're not pretty enough, or we don't fit in, or we're different, or someone says something mean, or our swimsuit isn't cool enough. Like, there's just all these different things throughout life where women hurt each other, where we're catty and where we cut each other down because of our own insecurities, or we compare to one another to try to feel better about ourselves. And this is not how God intended women to be towards each other. God's intention for females was that we would be the safest place for each other's hearts. He created us to be in a community and a tribe of women that understood us, that understood hormones and childbirth and our cycles and marriage and boyfriends and all these deep and really important topics. And there's so many things that men cannot and will not ever understand about women. They won't fully understand about a woman's heart, the heart of a female, how we come alive and how we connect, and that desire for connection. There's something in the heart of a female that God has made us unique. And we need other women. We need daughters, we need mothers, we need sisters, we need friends, we need soulmates. We need these women in our lives to connect with, to laugh with, to cry with, to run with. I want to invite you to sit with the Lord and to ask Him, like, Holy Spirit, will you show me in my heart where I have made agreements to cut women out of my life, where I've made an agreement in my heart to say, I will only let women this close. I will only share this much of my heart because I don't want to be hurt again. For so long I wanted to be married, and I had a couple serious relationships where I would instantly put that guy in the spot of where a best girlfriend belonged. And then when I would break up with the guy or the relationship would end, I was left with this big hole where I could have had a girl. And if it was a girl, we wouldn't, have had that, hopefully wouldn't have had that breakup, and I would have still had those women in my life. Instead, I chose to put a guy there, and then, I got married, and it's not like I'm going to be hanging out with all my ex-boyfriends now. And so there's a place of friendship, especially like when you get married, and I don't know about you, but for me, it just doesn't really feel appropriate to have a bunch of guy best friends. So there's a place of friendship between women where my women friends will fill a place and a part of my life that my husband will never even fill. And I used to kind of put this expectation on my future husband, like, well, when I get married, then I'll have a best friend who will never leave, because people always leave, but my husband will stay forever. And that's such a crazy amount of expectation to put on him. Like, he can't fill the need and the void in my heart for a best friend, for girls to go shopping with, for girls to talk about my hair and makeup with. Like, there's so many different things, from motherhood, having babies, postpartum. There are all these different things that my husband just can't relate to and doesn't understand. And yes, he's my best friend, but there's also this huge place that he doesn't relate to me in that way. Back to my point of inviting the Holy Spirit, saying, Lord, will you reveal to me the places in my own heart where I've made agreements and chosen to shut women out and shut my heart down to female friendship. Especially in this day and age, I feel like it's so easy to keep each other at a distance and not to really let people in deep, because we're afraid. We're afraid to be rejected. We're afraid to be vulnerable. We're afraid if we let them in close and then they leave, then we're left all alone all over again, and we don't want to go through that pain. But the greatest gift of friendship comes from giving our hearts, and that requires vulnerability. That requires letting somebody in to see who we fully are, to be wholehearted, to be our authentic selves, and to share that with someone. And that's where the true reward and the depth and the beauty of friendship comes, is when we bring ourselves fully to the table, naked and unashamed, and they do the same. And in our humanity and in our weakness and in our mess and our vulnerability, as we share that and accept that, and then choose to say, I love you still, I see you, I love you, I accept you, and I'm still going after this with you, it creates a strength and a bond and a connection that's not easily broken. You guys know, like, those best friends, the friends that you've had like throughout your life, that they just warm your heart when you think about them because they've been there for you. That's what's been stirring in my heart. Like, how do we as a culture of women create deep, lasting, fulfilling relationships and friendships with other women that we were created to enjoy? So there's this quote in the book that I'm reading. It says, it's from William Arthur Ward, and it says, a true friend knows your weaknesses but shows you your strengths, feels your fears but fortifies your faith, sees your anxieties but frees your spirit, recognizes your disabilities but emphasizes your possibilities. As I've been reading this book, I've really just felt this in my heart, like this is the kind of friend that I want to be. I want to be a friend that sees someone's weaknesses and covers over them. I want to be the safest place for my friends where they can come and they can share their weakest moment or their greatest embarrassment, their biggest shame, their most frustrated day, where they can be the most pissy version of themselves, and I forgive them and I'm there for them to still believe in them and to still champion them and to push them into what they're called to and what their heart longs for, and to remind them of the reason they got married or the reason they had the babies in the first place. Like, I just feel this stirring, and I want to invite you guys into a stirring for friendship. You know, and a page out of this book I want to read to you guys, and I hope it's not awkward because I know this is a video, but I'm going to read out of a book. So here it goes. Here's the thing. It seems that over the last couple of decades, we've substituted the joy of real friendship with cheap imitations. We settle for community on Facebook and Twitter, and through a series of text messages that allow us to communicate with someone without the commitment. We have a tendency to swim in the shallow pool of relationships because we know that getting deep can equate to being vulnerable. And more often than not, that's a risk we're not willing to take. It's so much easier to just text a few happy face emojis. I feel like many years ago, women had a better grasp of real friendship than we do today. Both my grandmothers had a close circle of friends they called first thing every morning and played bridge with over coffee as they shared secrets and recipes and tips for getting the ring around the collar of their husband's dress shirts out. They still rocked their babies and yelled at one another's kids and diagnosed illnesses, but then society changed as our world became more global and high-tech, and the simple joy of day-to-day friendship began to fade away because everyone is just too busy. So instead, we like one another's beautifully filtered photos on Instagram and delude ourselves into believing that we have community. But here's the question, do we really? Do you have those people who will show up on your doorstep with food and Kleenex when the hard times come? Is there someone in your life who can look into your eyes and ask if you're okay when she already knows you're not? Real friendship requires effort. It's showing up and laughing loud and crying hard. It's forgiving and loving and giving the benefit of the doubt. It's making a casserole, doing a last-minute carpool pickup, and making sure that she knows that those cute shoes are now 50% off. Really recommend this book. But even just reading that makes me feel emotional, because in my heart I'm like, every woman wants that. Like, every person in the world wants a friend like that, who shows up, who's there during the hard times, who's there to enjoy the good times, to have a history and a friendship and a depth of relationship with somebody that isn't on social media, that isn't just text messages, but it's life on life, day on day friendship. And I hope, if nothing else, that this video stirs you to become that kind of friend, because that's what it's done for me lately. Like, reading these books and thinking about my friendships and what my life looks like and how I can be more intentional with the women in my life, it's really created a desire in me to be a better friend, to show up more often, to make a pot of soup more often when someone's sick, to invite people over more, even when it's inconvenient, even when my kids are fussy and it's kind of embarrassing that they're misbehaving. Dinner isn't ready because I decided to visit instead of make it, or my house isn't clean and now it won't be clean for the rest of the day because I chose to sit down and invest in a relationship with someone that day, because I decided to value friendship in my life. But that's a price that I want to pay, and that's the thing, is that friendship costs a lot, you guys, and that's why it's not popular. Honestly, like, community and friendship and deep relationship isn't the hot commodity these days. Like, Instagram, social media, Twitter, all these pictures and reels and highlights and even YouTube videos are way more convenient. It's way more convenient to connect to me on a YouTube video than it is to go out and have deep relationship with a friend, where it's gonna be messy and they're gonna hurt you and you're gonna have to communicate and you're gonna have to say, ah, that hurt. Like, I didn't like that. I felt rejected. I wanted to hang out with you and you were too busy for me. These are the things that we actually have to carve out time and value or we're not gonna have. It's easy to read a book like this and to romanticize and to glamorize friendship and to be like, oh my gosh, if I had a person in my life like that, like if I had, you know, sometimes I write down in my journal, like, this would be my ad for the perfect friend. If I could write down who my best friend would be, this is what she would be like, this is what she would like, and this is what we would do together. But that's just not life. Like, people are people and they're messy and we have issues, and I do things that would annoy you and you do things that annoy me, and this is what relationship is. But if we're willing and if we understand that it's not perfect and it is messy, and we open up our hearts and we decide like, okay, maybe I don't have that kind of person in my life. Maybe it's really hard and inconvenient to make a friend, but I'm gonna value this, and so I'm going to become that person. I'm going to become the friend who will believe the best about you no matter what. I'm going to be the friend where you know that your name is never safer than when it's on my lips, because I will only speak kind things about you. I will not gossip about you. I'm going to be the kind of friend who is the safest place for your heart, where you can come and I will not extend judgment. I will extend grace and mercy. You can tell me your biggest sin, your biggest mess, your biggest flaw, your worst, most shameful moment, and I will give you acceptance and love and grace and tell you that's not who you are, and tell you who you are and believe the best about you and remind you who you are when you fail. These are the kinds of friends the world needs. And as Christians, as followers of Christ, as followers of Jesus, this is who Jesus was. He was the greatest friend. He loved more than anyone will ever understand. He became love itself and extended that friendship to us. And through the empowerment of His Spirit, He will give us the grace to be these kinds of friends. I'm getting so excited about this. Okay, in 1 Corinthians 13, it's the love chapter. But I want to read it through the context of friendship. And I hope I'm inspiring you guys that this is the kind of friend you want to be. So in 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4, it says, love is large and incredibly patient. I'm just gonna like break this down sentence by sentence. Love is large and incredibly patient. That means practically, if love is patient in my friendship, then when you're too busy to text me back, time and time again, my love is patient for you. My love is understanding. My love is gracious. It's not, I'm gonna keep reading, okay. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessings come to someone else. Okay, here's a huge one as women, because we can be so freaking jealous and so obsessively catty, and we suck at celebrating each other, and we suck at celebrating the new car that our girlfriend got, or that her husband has a super hot body, or that she lost 10 pounds, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. Like, that's so amazing that you lost those 10 pounds you wanted to lose. I'm so happy for you. Instead, we feel insecure in our own selves, and then we feel worse about ourselves that we didn't lose 10 pounds or that we didn't get a new car. And we have to cut this crap off, because envy, when envy comes into our friendships, when we allow envy to seep in to our relationships, it will erode the very foundation of our friendships, guys. Like, we can't. When we have those thoughts pop up, there's no shame, right? There's no shame. We've all experienced jealousy. We've all experienced envy, but we gotta nip that in the bud. We gotta get that and cut it out, because we cannot let that stay in our hearts towards our friends. And by the grace of the Holy Spirit, we can keep that stuff out. We can purpose and intend in our hearts, I will not allow jealousy in this friendship. When I feel jealousy, like when I have those thoughts like, oh my gosh, she just had a baby and she looks so good, and I just had a baby and I feel like such a freaking hot mess, I can catch those thoughts and be like, you know what, I'm so happy for her. That is so awesome that she worked so hard to keep her body so healthy and fit, and I'm gonna celebrate that she does that really well, and I'm actually going to allow that to create an inspiration in my heart that I can do that too. I can become inspired by the women I admire instead of becoming jealous over and envious of what they have. And that's the difference, right? Because God's given each of us a portion. We all have different things that we're good at and other things that we're not as good at, and each of us has different things. But we can actually celebrate those differences, and and we can receive from the grace on their life. Like, wow, she's really artistic and super creative, and I can't do I can't do any of that. But as I value the gift on her life and appreciate it and celebrate it, it actually welcomes that into my life. And now I can actually, let me have that girlfriend come help me out. I'm gonna have her help me plan that birthday party because I do not have an eye for that stuff and she does. Okay, go back to the verse. It refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame and disrespect nor selfishly seek its own honor. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offense. What if we just chose to believe the best about each other? What if we chose to believe that she didn't get back to the text message because she's genuinely busy and she loves you and she cares about you and she'll get back to it when she can? What if we assumed the best? What if we assumed that when they canceled on us, it was because they really needed to rest and not because they didn't care about us? Guys, there's so many opportunities in friendship where we could take offense, where we could be butthurt, where we could be insecure, where we could feel rejected and let a list of things come up in our heart to create a wall so that we no longer extend as much grace to each other. But what if instead, and I'm eating my own words because I'm thinking about times where I could have been more gracious, or I could have been more understanding, or I could have had more patience. And what if we did that in our friendships? I think we'd have some really awesome friends. Love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as defeat, for it never gives up. This is back to what I was saying earlier. Love is a safe place of shelter. What if we determined in our hearts to be the safest place for each other's hearts? What if we determined that we would be the most trustworthy, the most loyal, the most safest friend that there had ever been? That when someone comes and shares and confides in me, they know it will never go anywhere else. And they also know that it won't fall on judgment, but it will fall on acceptance and grace and compassion and mercy. I might have shared this quote earlier, but I want to share it again. A true friend knows your weaknesses, but shows you your strengths. Feels your fears, but fortifies your faith. Sees your anxieties, but frees your spirit. Come on, what does that even mean? Sees your anxieties, but frees your spirit. I think that's giving encouragement and strength. Hey, I see you're really anxious about this. Let's talk about it. Let's talk through your fear. Let's talk through your frustration. Let's talk through your insecurity. Let me be a friend. Let me listen to you. Guys, this is one of my favorite, absolute favorite things about my friends. Like, my favorite friends are the friends who ask me questions. They're the friends who listen. When you really, really know someone and like you're talking to them on the phone even, you don't have to see their face, and you hear like the dip in their voice and you're like, oh my gosh, you sound sad. Instead of running over that with our own needs and what we want to share with them and all our news and all these exciting things, it's like you actually take that moment to be like, what's going on? Do you want to talk about that? How are you doing? How is your heart doing? How are you feeling? One time, it was one of my best friends. She did something so amazing, I'll never forget it. We both hadn't seen each other in a while, and we were really excited to update each other on like all these new things going on. I want to say at the time she was planning a wedding, and she was super excited to tell me all about her relationship. And we got together, and that was like kind of the goal. Like, she was going to update me on things that have been going on. And instead, she noticed I was feeling sad. And you know what she did? She said, Haley, I really want to share all these things with you because I'm super excited about them, but that can wait, because I can tell that you really need to talk about this thing on your heart. And I can put aside my own needs right now and meet yours. I can put aside my own desire to share this stuff with you and actually be a place for your heart to process in this moment, because I know that you need that. That's the beauty of friendship, guys, that we get to give to each other. It's not just all about us having friends, but it's about us becoming that kind of friend that says, I can actually give to you. This isn't just about me meeting my needs and me talking about my life and me sharing what's going on with me, but I actually came to this friendship to be I came to this relationship to be a friend to you and to care for your heart and to extend courage and to be a listening ear and a place that you can confide in. And this is the kind of friend that I want to be. I want to be a friend that lays down my life for another person, that sacrifices my own needs, my own desires, even talking about myself, and quiets down and says, I want to listen to your heart right now. I want to ask how you're doing. I want to be a safe place for you to confide in. I know this video is getting long, so I'm going to sum it up. Friendship requires effort. It requires sacrifice. It's inconvenient, it's messy, it's hard, it's frustrating, and times it really, really hurts, and those people drive you freaking crazy. But it's also the most beautiful thing in the entire world. It's what Jesus came to sacrifice everything for, was the love of connection of his children, of his friends, of his family, and that's what we get to do. We get to lay our lives down for our friends and be the best friend that we could ever imagine. So Lord, I thank you for your grace. I thank you for the call to friendship. I thank you just for even laying this on my heart that I could share it with everyone, Lord. And I pray that you would help us become these kind of friends. Because you've been this friend to us, we now get to be this friend to others. Bless you guys, and I'll see you next week.